have space for you?
No, that opened a whole different, they had to take it down because everybody else uses it.
It's a reasonable
Yeah,
accommodation.
but why can't we add a
No,
handicap space?
let me explain
Because then
something.
other
that might
people
be-
can use it. Let me use
First of
anybody
all,
else.
Oh,
it's
okay,
private
handicap
property.
person, got it.
It's
All right.
private property, they don't need
Okay.
handicap space.
Right.
I just,
And I would like to say, hello.
this is a bad
I
idea.
don't know what's her name.
Yes.
I can't remember.
Hello.
Valerie.
Valerie,
Hello.
yes.
Cluster 6, I apologize.
Hello. And I would like to say that EJ and I talked about your
Yeah, I know, we've
predicament.
always talked to you
Yes.
about it. I appreciate that, I
Yes.
really do.
And the issue that we have is that I don't mind your husband having a parking spot there, but I would like for him to be moved down from the edge, you know, even if it's
He
just.
can't walk, he is totally, I mean, I'm talking
That's the
severely
point.
handicapped.
Yes, I know, I've seen him, I've watched him.
I'm not playing games
But,
here.
but instead of him parking, I like to move it down just one space. And
So,
not by
which
the
one
edge.
would you like him in this
Why?
time?
No, 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 no. Don't get angry at me.
I'm not.
The
no.
reason I want that moved down is because, first of all, when we have I need that space, it's like the main space, or it's the best space. If somebody else in cluster 6 has an issue.
So one over from that then?
Just one over.
That's fine.
Okay.
That's a reasonable accommodation.
Okay,
We only did that because that's what we were told to do.
okay.
I went according to what you and AJ discussed many times.
Okay, well, I wasn't part of
Oh,
that, so
I
I don't know.
apologize for that.
So, but what I would like for you to do is move it down, and I don't mind
no problem.
assigning that as belonging
Now,
to him.
I know, but it's inappropriate for us to have this conversation,
okay.
even though you brought up.
But I
Send us
just
an
want you-
email, the reasonable accommodation
I'll
request,
have
and the
him
board
do it.
will
He's
grant
been
it,
in
and you,
ADA
right.
rules all his life.
That's right.
But we
You
do
got
need
it.
to mark it that no one else can park there.
Yes, and we will, if she gets a reasonable accommodation request. Okay.
More questions?
Yeah, I'm Trina, cluster 2, so we don't actually have, cluster 2, we don't actually have any visitor parking. But, so a couple things, I think what you're saying, the board's gonna talk again Thursday, so you've got some updates coming. So hopefully you're gonna make sure to put in the 2 per unit, or you're at least gonna talk about it. One other thing I heard was this is only enforced overnight. So if that's the case, it might really alleviate some of the concerns in the room, but I think we need to see that in writing in our rules, so we can understand. So if I have friends over and I let them park in my spot in front of my house, and I already put mine in some other visitor spot, because I know somebody's coming, and it's daytime, I wanna know they're not gonna be towed, and if they stay till 10 p.m., I wanna know, is it 9 p.m. they had to get out of there or something, like, I think when we're saying accommodating owners, and we want guests, I personally don't think you need to accommodate 10 of my guests, but if I'm having one guest, I think we could accommodate one guest in my spot, and I've put my own vehicle someplace else. So that's, I guess the main point I should make here to be more concise, please put the time of when these rules apply, if you would. Like if it's 9 p.m. till 6 a.m. or whatever it is, it would really be helpful to see that in writing in here. You know, I guess I'll express my opinion. I'm not a fan of having the towing company just because it seems like it brings fear. But I've not, you know, cluster 6 or cluster 2, we have no turf to defend. I'm not violating anything, but I have no idea what the other clusters are putting up with, you know, so I only have, we've never had more than 2 vehicles, and that's that. I might have a guest once a month or something, and I would like to get them my spot for a couple hours. Anyhow, not a fan of the parking thing. I too am concerned that your company needs to make money. Why else would you be offering to do this? Why would you be in business? I like what you're saying about you pay a salary. I think that's very good. I'd rather buy my furniture for somebody who earns a salary, rather have towed by somebody who earns a salary instead of, you know, the individual driver doesn't have the predatory mentality. That's good. I think we all recognize your company is a company to make business, or why else, you know, why would you
And
have
to
a
touch
company?
on that, we service thousands of communities. We've got hundreds just simply in Manatee County alone. I mean, I can throw a rock and probably hit 5 other communities. We're sort of everywhere. If we were a small, you know, a typical towing company, they may have 5 or 10 communities that they enforce, and that's why you see tow trucks waiting outside, and the minute the, you know, 10 o'clock comes, and they go. The reality is that we have so many communities that we have to inspect, and so many areas, that the reality is I wanted it to be more of an amenity to the communities where we're providing parking enforcement, which sure, nobody likes to get towed, but ultimately, if you do live in an area where there's no place to park, or your neighbor's constantly having a book club at, a couple times a week, there's no place for you to park, and you have to park there
Right.
instead.
Right. So if maybe, I didn't use my last 30 seconds, but if maybe you could tell us what it's gonna be like what happens overnight? So say it's 9 or 10 p.m. till 6 a.m., what happens? Are trucks gonna come through every night, or what's
They
gonna
would,
happen?
yeah. We do inspect the community every day for violations. We do have, in some cases, spotter vehicles, which would drive through, find vehicles that are in violation, and then dispatch those to my trucks. And then the trucks would come and tow, or if there's no spotters, then a truck would come through and do an inspection.
And noise level, would you say they're not loud?
They're all gasoline-powered tow trucks. If you hear diesel, I've had a really bad day, because that's my backup truck. Yes?
I just want, so can I ask you, as far as coming through 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. kind of thing, is this like every day?
Yes,
or
ma'am.
every other day?
Every
or
day.
Every day? So even though you've got so many other complexes, and you've got what, thousands of trucks?
23.
23?
Yes, ma'am.
And yet you can hit all of them every night?
Yes, ma'am. As I had mentioned in the prior question, we have spotter vehicles as well. So there may be a Toyota Prius running through inspecting the parking lot, but that's also how we ensure every vehicle is checked every day for every type of violation. They get out for every single car. If somebody's backed into a parking space, they get out and they check.
Right, okay, and so on top of that, now I can't remember what I said. I just lost it. Senior moment.
It's okay.
I know, senior moment. Never mind. I can't remember.
Jim, did you have a question?
Yes.
Go to the mic, hon.
I'm Jim Mack. I'm from Cluster 1. And one of my questions would be, is there any, in the board, is there any conflict of interest with this situation?
With Comto, because it is in the statute that the board has to report that to the owners. 718. So do you have family members, friends, anybody who makes money from Comto? Is there any conflict of interest?
See, I'd like to know where that's coming from.
718, chapter
Answer the question.
718.
Where's it coming
You know
from?
what, fair enough question. Duet, do you have any conflict of interest with the Comto?
I don't actually, I don't know or have any relations with anybody that's with Comto.
Tom?
I do not.
No,
Nope.
No.
none whatsoever.
So none of your family
Yes, Robin.
members are related to them or have
Yes,
personal
Robin.
relationships
He
with
answered,
them?
asked and answered. Mike, turn around. Robin is muted. Robin, do you
Oh.
have any conflict of interest?
You're muted. Unmute yourself.
No.
Oh, wait.
Oh, we can't hear you.
no, I
Hold
don't.
on.
Yeah.
Hold on
Well,
a
she's been
second.
speaking.
All right, how about now? No?
Doesn't matter, she has to,
Oh,
the room has to be able to
because-
hear her,
She's not.
or it's not.
Don't,
Right,
this is
don't-
a, don't worry,
Try
it's a
again.
town hall meeting, it's
Try
not a board
again.
meeting, we called it to order because all of the board is present, it's
All
a
right,
town
wait a
hall
minute.
meeting,
Oh,
it's
the-
okay.
The board will invest in a better microphone
No,
and
wait, it
speaker
wasn't
system. It's
connected
going
to
to
the
cost us
Bluetooth.
all money.
That's okay, go
All right,
ahead,
how about
Robin.
now?
I said, no, I don't have any conflict.
Okay,
Now,
Michael?
could you hear that? Okay, thank you.
okay.
Are there any additional questions? Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Robin, mute yourself again, hon.
Hi, I am Morgan Auckland. I live in Cluster 2. And first of all, I just want to say that I love for us to live and be able to also have guests in our community and not just, life is about having family and guests. So my question is, when I live in Cluster 2, we don't have any visitors parking. So during the day, will the places right here outside the clubhouse, will that be marked as visitors?
Yes.
So people can park there?
Yes.
Or do I need to tell my guests, please park at else?
There will be 9 spaces out here, and there'll be 6 spaces around the end of cluster 6. There'll be 3 spaces for Edna, and 3 spaces that Edna is allowing extra, because cluster 2
Okay.
has no space, you guys don't even have spaces hardly enough for your own vehicles.
We don't.
So
Okay.
Edna
Okay.
gave 3 spaces
Okay.
to be used.
Okay. Thank you so much. That was my question. I love to live and I love us to be friendly. Okay?
Are there any additional questions?
I'll ask.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Garrett Catalani, Cluster 1. Just want to clarify how the guest parking is going to work. For instance, if I have a couple buddies come over, we're watching a hockey game, and it's 10:30 at night, and their cars are still in the guest parking, what happens?
If they're in visitor parking, nothing.
Nothing.
They can park there for up to what, 3 days?
3 or 5, we haven't even said.
Yeah,
Whatever we said, it's gonna be 3 or 4.
Board has to discuss
Okay,
that.
and then I do have one other question, or really a suggestion. To your point that on the portal, how you want the management team to run that, I think that's the most fair way to do that. So there's no friends and family discounts being taken anywhere. Takes all the pressure off the board, puts the pressure on someone else that is giving up the gates to the parking community.
Thank you.
That way the board can't get bitched at or moaned at by doing something special for friends and family.
Exactly.
That's the problem.
Yeah. Okay, I think I kind of
Janet,
remember.
Janet, would you step to the podium, please?
Oh. I know, but I'm loud. I kind of remembered what I wanted to ask. So when somebody is parked wrong or whatever and you're gonna tow, do you give them 24 hours notice? Do they get a notice before you actually tow?
It depends on the violation. Certain violations you do, so like flat tires, leaking fluids, expired plates, severe damage like broken windows or windshields, things like that. If you're parked in the handicap space or on the landscaping or in a resident spot or motorcycle in a breezeway or on a balcony, other things would result in an immediate tow. And we'll make that very clear in the
So
notice.
those things that you just said now, is that immediate tow?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
Yep.
Okay,
If
so
your
there's-
plates are expired or flats or leaking fluids or severe damage, things like that, you would get a warning. But
Okay.
Give
others
an
would result
example
in
of
Get a
a,
warning?
of a not an immediate tow, or give an example of what you had mentioned to Nancy and
What,
I
a
about
warning?
if you're just, like, let's say you're parked,
Like
taking
improperly
up
parked.
two spaces or something, but it's not that bad.
Sure.
How you-
So, and that's more of an internal policy, not something I typically put on blast, but
Oh.
internally, I do pay my staff salary, so I hold them to a very high standard. Not typically with boards and condo associations, but in apartment communities, those property managers are typically on site for about a year, and then they roll to another community, and they roll to another community. And the reality is I want to build relationships where they take me with them. I don't have a sales staff, I'm the owner of the company, and I happen to be here at 6 o'clock on a Monday night. And that's because we grow by word of mouth because we do exactly what we say we're going to do. If my staff are too aggressive and egregious, those managers are not going to take me with them, CNS is not going to refer me, and ultimately I'm not going to grow. So internally, for example, if a vehicle's parked just on the line or just over the line, a traditional towing company that does pay their staff per tow, they're going to tow you for being improperly parked, or if your one tire's touching the grass and you pulled into a space at an angle, they're going to tow you. With us, very simply put, my staff ever tow anything that I personally don't agree with, my staff pay for the tow. It is a full payroll deduction. 4 bad tows in 1 week, no paycheck. If you don't like it, there's the door. And that's exactly how I tell them in their interview. Because this industry is so small, property management wise, that if we're too aggressive and we're too egregious, they're not going to take me with them. And I don't have room for that.
I just think, I think sometimes everybody's getting a little bit overzealous about the visitors and the people that are coming. I mean, we have people in and out of here all day long, whether they're workers, whether they're medical people, whether they're whatever. The point is, wherever they're parking during the day, you're not going to be in here towing people at 3 o'clock in the afternoon because a medical person stopped over, or because a plumber guy is there or whatever.
Depending on what they decide. If they were to decide that they wanted 24-hour enforcement, we do offer that. But as far as I understand, it's just overnight.
Right, so the point is, when people are here during the day and they're parking in the visitors or they're parking in somebody next to them or whatever, they don't have to worry that you're going to tow them
Correct. It's
until
outside of our
9
time
o'clock
frames.
at night or 10 o'clock, whatever it is. It's an overnight situation.
Correct. As far as us doing the patrolling, now if a
Right.
cluster director calls us and says, hey, there's a car on the grass.
Right.
We're gonna come out and tow that at their request.
I get that. But other than that, just all the visitors that we get in and out, my sister comes, she's only here for 2 hours, she's not gonna get towed. Fine, thank you.
I just forgot one question. We have 2 cars, and one is parked in one of these places here, but it has a sticker on it. So when it has a sticker on it, even if it's parked in a visitor place, it won't be towed, right? Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
We discourage
I'm
that.
joining Janet with the senior moment.
It's the microphone, it does that.
Just hang out by the podium in case it comes back.
It's not my time yet. Oh, crap. I'll come back.
If I may quickly, if you have a sticker, you should utilize the open spaces in your cluster before utilizing the visitor spaces.
Right.
That way, visitor spaces are available for visitors.
Cluster 2 doesn't have any open spaces.
You guys have been deemed everything along the fence.
Cluster 2's gonna have nothing but open spaces.
Everything along the fence now, or will be for cluster 2. Because you guys have no spaces outside of your cluster. So everything along the fence is for residents. Your visitors still should park in the visitor parking areas.
So those are gonna get relabeled, like the 3 that.
They're not gonna get relabeled.
Well, how-
The ones along the fence there by Bell's
Yeah.
will just be, it's just blank, it'll be for residents.
If it's blank, it's for residents.
If it's blank, it's for a resident.
Blank means, okay, okay.
There's
Some-
only
some like the-
there's only
the
visitors and
curves.
non-visitors.
Okay, because the curves say, you know, guest and cluster
Yeah,
1.
those are all gonna be painted over yellow. So there'll be no designation.
So we'll have a bunch of blank spots.
And a bunch of visitors.
And those are for
and a number of
residents.
A blank
visitors.
means a resident with a sticker
Can park it
there
anywhere.
overnight.
Yes.
Can that get written in this
Yes.
new
Yes,
stuff?
yes, absolutely.
Because that's, part of it, again, is we're scared, right? We just don't want to get told we're doing the wrong thing and we don't even know what the right thing is yet. So, that's it. I wanted to ask the
Robin, mute yourself, we can hear you moving around.
thoughts on, like somebody brought up Snowbird, but I mean, a bunch of us are not here half the year. So what are the thoughts on what condition of the vehicle, if we get a flat tire, but it's our car parked in our spot? I mean, we have a sticker, we're in our own spot, we get a flat tire, we're not gonna be here for 3 more months, what happens?
Inoperable vehicles are towed only at the direction of the board or the association. For inoperable.
I don't think that's what
Inoperable vehicles, right?
Inoperable, so if it's on blocks or jacks, things like that. If it's got a flat tire,
that's
yeah,
different.
flat tire, we would
Okay.
issue you a warning to correct the violation, and then it
All right.
Warning. And then how do you get a hold of us? Like, how do you issue a warning?
we put a sticker on the car.
So if I'm gone 6 months, I'm never gonna see it, right?
Wait.
So I don't want my car to be
I
towed
want to add
for
to
that
that,
reason.
there's more to that, I want to add to that, as a condo owner in Florida, you are completely responsible for your property, even if you are such a snowbird or you're renting it out. So if you don't have someone there, then you have a designated individual who is to check on your property. If you let us know who your emergency contact person is, then we will contact them if there's an issue, and we can put that into the system so we know who to get a hold of. But you are required, you're responsible for it,
Yeah.
whether you're in town or out of town.
Does that have a volume button?
Huh?
Does this have a volume?
I have a
No, what do you-
question.
Isn't this?
No, but she needs to,
Okay, well,
hear and be heard.
So,
I don't think that, yes, Mr. Hess.
Based on what Trina is asking, would it then be on the director to check to see if any of these owners have vehicles that got a sticker on it, or
If
would
you're
she
willing
just have
to,
somebody
probably.
designated to check on her vehicle?
Oh,
That's liability.
yeah, the stickers would be, I would imagine she'd have her own sticker on her car. This is
Well,
just
he
like
needs a-
someone to drive by, check, and just make sure her
Okay.
property's in good working order. Not just the car,
Yeah,
her unit, yeah, you
Right.
know, whatever. When condo owners, it has happened in the past, can you all hear me? Because I'm very loud, so I don't think I need a mic. Condo owners in the past, it has happened like maybe there's a leak, or maybe a window got cracked, or a screen got ripped, you're still responsible. It doesn't wait 3 months till you come back.
Right.
Someone is responsible for your home, whether you hire a vendor or you have a friend or neighbor or whoever coming and checking. So that person is also gonna have to make sure that your vehicle is in, let's call it, I don't know what you'd call it, good sitting condition,
Well, and when
you
that
know?
person, when that person checks on your place and he sees a big sticker on your window that says, what? What does the sticker say?
If it tells fluorescent green, you've gotta, you know, you have a flat tire, you've gotta correct the violation, otherwise you will be towed.
See, that concerns me, that concerns me, because what if somebody doesn't notice and I get towed just because I wanted to leave my own car in my own spot for 6 months? That part concerns me. I think that's kind of scary. I'm not sure that law means that I can't have a flat tire in my spot. I don't know that, you know, I don't know the details of that law. Yeah, I'm responsible for the property, but I don't know that
I know that
me having a flat tire is really that bad of a detriment to the neighborhood or anything like that,
I
right?
think in cluster 4 declarations, and I don't know, I'm not
they're
sure what it
separate.
is, but in cluster 4 declarations, it states that if we're gonna be gone for longer than a certain period of time, we have to, you know, we agree to have somebody look after our place for us, if we're gonna be gone for a certain period of time.
And to touch on
Pretty
that
sure.
briefly, it's not if the tire's low, if it's leaking air, that it's gotta be flat. Because at the end of the day, if my staff tows something that I don't agree with, they pay for it. So
I just wonder, why is that an offense? I mean, what is that wrong to the neighborhood about a car?
Because you can end up with a lot of
It looks
junk.
like a junk.
Yeah, you can end up, you know, if you allow one person and then another person, you've got 5 or 6 cars with flat tires, and they're sitting on rims, and it's just, after a while,
Even
yeah.
if it's a nice car, you still find it offensive. Okay, that was one of my thoughts. What, are there other things besides flat tire that's just a condition of the, what gets you?
Yeah, well, I would have to double check on that, because this is the one community where for inoperable vehicles, there was an exception made. I want to say if it's leaking fluids, you'd be given a warning, so if you're, you know, spilling oil or gasoline out onto the parking lot, things like that.
I have a question, can I add to her question? Do you have some kind of report, or is it something, believe me, I'm all about knowing. I just got a whole new job. I don't want to give you guys a job that's outside, but is there a way to let us know when there's inoperable? Because you are correct, there's a 5-day rule in the declarations, right? Before it can be towed. I think it's 5 days.
I can have them, I can make that a line item where they notify you guys.
If they just let me know, I can let the owners know, that's all I'm saying, and that way they have the 4 days.
I'm pretty sure they even put on the contract, do not enforce, just struck it out and left it completely up
And
to the
said-
cluster directors.
We did, and the cluster directors would call. So by the time it would get towed, your cluster director either would have contacted me or you directly to try and get in touch with
But
you.
you said it's not an inoperable vehicle. A flat tire is not, is that
It's
what?
not, it's different than
Yeah,
a
it's not
box.
inoperable.
It's not inoperable, right. So
No,
that's,
We could make it inoperable, but that's.
It's not an inoperable, what do you call it then?
Flat tire.
Oh. But when do you tow a flat tire?
We would give them a 24-hour warning. Warnings are never issued on Fridays or Saturdays.
Well, that's something you guys might want to consider if you want to accommodate people who leave town for long periods of
Yeah,
time.
that's something
If
we
you
can
don't,
just
as
strike
a
out.
board, then don't worry about it. Yeah.
Okay, just trying to make sure we understand and help us, you know, we don't want to get towed, basically. We want to have a nice community, but we don't want even the fear of being towed,
We
that,
tow
you know.
2,500 to 3,000 cars a month company-wide, and I'd say maybe 1 or 2 are for flat tires. So it's not a very common thing. It's not something that
is
comes
this
up frequently.
something you currently experience, or you
No,
just pulled
but-
this out of?
No, once we left an older car here, I don't know, but EJ was looking at it for us,
Yeah.
because I was afraid of this towing thing, so EJ was like, I mean, it never got a flat tire, but it could have, I mean, it could have,
Oh.
but we don't have that anymore, so.
Okay.
But, I mean, people will be in that.
3 minutes.
Yep.
Oh, okay. I wrote it down.
I was just gonna say, yes, she did.
Okay, okay, a couple of things about not having the temporary tags or visitor tags or whatever, we called them temporary tags the last time I was with the EJ.
It's my understanding those are completely gone.
Okay,
You just have
so-
to park at a visitor spot.
Okay, so what I'm getting to is, how do we know, because with those, the idea was, we then knew how many cars people had by using those, because
That's how we kind of knew that they had a third car or a fourth car. So how are we gonna keep track of that then?
If they don't have a parking permit, they have to park in a designated visitor spot.
Right, but that
Once the
doesn't
board
tell us-
determines how long a vehicle is allowed to be parked in visitor, and this is something that we are not enforcing currently, but later on down the road,
Okay, but that, it doesn't,
we have the ability to log, document, track, and photograph every vehicle utilizing every visitor space every night. That then builds customized reports so they can see people who may be living in your community who haven't had a background
okay,
check done.
because they
things
would
like
be
that.
using their car every day, so you're saying you're gonna log it, so you'll
Correct.
see.
We photograph, log, document every car and every visitor spot every day if that program is utilized. I'm in the process of creating new software and license plate readers to kind of automate that, but yes.
Okay, and then by not having the temporary tags also, by parking in visitor, we're using the word visitor, I guess. Also, how do we know that they're parking in the correct cluster?
We don't.
Doesn't matter.
Visitors park in visitors, and that was one of the reasons a year ago when we went through this that I sort of said, listen, this may not be the time to hire us, and I kindly bowed away. I didn't want it to become one of those programs where, well, I live in this building, and my guests had to park over there because there were no visitor spots. Originally, they wanted us to tow those. They wanted us to tow people who would park one building off in a different cluster set of visitor spots. And simply put, you guys are a community, you guys share the visitor spots. If you don't have a permit, if you have a guest, have them park in a designated visitor spot. I felt it was too aggressive, and I actually pulled back myself.
Okay, so where are we with that? I mean,
If you don't have a permit, park in a visitor spot.
no, I'm talking about, Nancy, do you know where we are with that?
I can't comment on this because I
Okay.
wasn't involved with the.
What do you mean, where are we with that? What do you mean?
Is that how it's gonna be, I think is what she means, is that, you agree that's what?
Everybody can park wherever they want, it's kind of a free-for-all.
Okay, so,
We're just
Well,
simply
no,
restricting the visitors.
it
I
should
didn't-
be a free-for-all. Visitors should park in any visitor spot.
okay, but we don't have any, so now we're gonna have
Yeah.
none?
You do, because Edna gave you two or three,
Yeah.
and there's 9 up here.
4.
Yeah, but nine that,
That's where visitors should park.
okay, but 9 that none of cluster 2 is hardly using. I mean, when I go over there, I check the cars and I see walking my dogs who's parking over there. That's why I made the comment one time, Edna got pissed off, but it's the fact. The people that live on that side of cluster 6, and understandably, they would prefer to park there because they're
Correct,
closer
but
to their units.
out of respect for everybody in the community, everyone in the community does need to respect parking in their own clusters.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying, so this is that loophole that all of a sudden is changing without, in a way that we never got told is changing.
What do you mean it's changing?
Because everyone, as far as I knew, we'll have to look at the paperwork, but as far as I knew, it was always to be said that you parked in the cluster, the guest parking in the cluster that you live in.
Right, that
But,
doesn't work.
but I guess my question to you is what guest parking spaces do you have that you're losing? You have, you don't have any.
Down here.
I know we don't have any, but now we're gonna lose them because.
No,
you're not.
You're not.
Cluster 3 is losing them though, so the
Yeah.
question still stands.
Yeah.
Logically, we're losing guest spots and we're.
Everybody's gonna lose them.
Right.
Because everybody's
Okay.
gonna park wherever they can find a
Then,
spot,
then,
that's
then
what
we
you have to understand.
then we circle back to, are we catering
Yeah.
to guests or visitors?
No, I'm not
So
talking
residents.
about guests or visitors, people have a second car.
I'm gonna cater to
The
my
second-
family, and I'm gonna do what's right for that. but-
Yeah, the person has a second car.
Right.
Correct, and you can still park in your cluster.
Yeah, but if someone else is gonna park there, then
No,
we have
it's
to
just
go
not
somewhere
right.
else.
It's just not right. We'll get there. I know where you live.
Okay.
I'm not gonna.
Okay, I got 3 minutes.
Well,
I'm gonna give an answer to that, but, okay, okay, who's giving out the stickers? Now, are we doing CNS?
CNS.
CNS is. Okay, now, is that true? You're laughing.
Susan, I think we'll decide on Thursday. The board hears,
Okay,
they
what?
heard each other and.
Yes.
The sticker you have on your car today?
Yes.
The black and white decal? That is still valid.
Okay, so all of
you
us
don't
keep.
need to get a new sticker.
No, I don't need to, but I'm asking for like people that start coming in. You know, like we have 2 units that are gonna be sold, so they're gonna be new people coming in. So those people will have to.
Potentially, they
So-
would get them from
So
Sam's.
that when they fill out the application, where does it go, Janet? It's gonna be on the application? There's 2 units that are gonna be sold shortly.
Uh-huh.
Okay, Lori's got
What
1 unit.
application? You're talking about sales?
When they buy the place.
When they
How do we
buy
get
the
a
place,
new
it's
sticker?
not on the
Register their
application.
How do we get a new
It
sticker?
says that they need parking stickers,
It will say that, and they'll get it from CNS.
if that's what the board decides, yes.
Okay, all right. And then, if people get a new car, I think it was already on that form that we saw, but it'll be the same on the new form, that they get a new car, then they go to you and get a
To
new
get a
sticker.
new sticker, and we will disconnect our other sticker from the system.
Correct. In the
Okay.
portal, they can be marked as active or inactive.
Right.
Okay, I still say that we'll have a problem trying to, get through some of these people and get their 3rd and 4th cars out, because we've always had a problem with that, without having some kind
Well,
of temporary
Susan,
tag.
I can say in 90% certainty, I don't think that has ever been addressed.
Yeah.
I don't think, maybe a couple of the clusters have gone so far as to
Yeah, EJ
work
didn't do it.
to get rid of the 3rd and 4th cars
Yeah.
or more, but I think for the most part, they've not been addressed.
Yeah, and the towing for cluster 2, the nighttime will be good, because we do have vehicles that park, overnight right in front. And I can show, but the other time is, this is just last thing. The other times during the day, they do the same thing. They park right outside the area that has 3 units and the 3 bottom units. They park right outside the sidewalk, and they just sit there for 2 hours, come back out, go pick up their kids, you know, do the same thing again,
Yeah,
all day
that's not-
long.
that's not
And that's why the notice for the director was good, because those times, you know, otherwise they're gonna sit there all day with their cars in the street.
Susan, can you come back Thursday?
Yeah,
And
so,
we can finish this discussion on
yeah,
Thursday?
so anyway, those cars are gonna sit there all day long in the street.
If
I mean,
it becomes an
because
issue,
I
the
thought it
board
was-
could
I
elect
thought
to
it was
hire
gonna
during
be-
the day.
I thought it was gonna be a double-edged sword. I thought it was gonna be the director and the tow, so that we'd still have the process of the director. And I understand, I totally agree with what you're saying, Charlie, I totally agree. If I was director, I wouldn't wanna do it either.
One thing to touch on that
But-
also is liability. So
Okay.
if you had it where
But
the
we missed,
director,
I'm sorry, but I just wanna say, we missed the cars that are, and I'm cluster 2, so I'm only talking about myself at this point, because I'm not down with the other, you know, directors.
Susan,
Go
can I
ahead.
interrupt you for a second? Your time is up, and I do want to address that. They did say, he said that if a director called during the day,
Okay.
that they would come out.
I missed that, and I
Yes.
think he was gonna
So,
say.
and that's what
well,
you,
to kind of touch on the call-in, sort of having, as you had mentioned, the director as a middleman. If a director were to call us, you know, and we weren't on a patrol service where we have a scope of work that's provided to us, the liability would be on that director for requesting those vehicles to be towed.
Okay, so we have an option for the director to call you, other than the nighttime?
Absolutely, if they have an issue during the daytime, but keep in mind, yeah.
Okay.
Keep in
And the
mind
liability's
also,
on the
please,
director, he's saying.
that if you come home and somebody is parked in your personal spot, in one of the covered spaces, in one of the numbered spaces, you do have the right to call them.
As residents, you guys
As
have the ability to call us.
residents, and ask for a tow.
But
to get
you
that
take the
car removed.
responsibility.
You take,
Yep.
you would have to sign a tow ticket giving us authorization to remove the vehicle, and our staff would tow the car.
And that makes you personally responsible, so if you have someone towed
Well,
wrongly,
Oh, that's-
you are responsible.
oh, so that's great.
But you can still have someone towed.
Susan, you're not gonna come home, find somebody sitting
From a
in
covered
your
So
spot.
what
numbered
if I wanna
spot.
run my director, then you gotta put it on the director too?
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If the director calls
So
and
some
specifically.
idiot parks in my spot,
Yep.
and he's gonna put shit on us.
Well, if it's
No.
wrongly towed,
If it's wrongly
But-
towed.
If it's wrongly towed.
It wouldn't be wrongly told if you know for sure that's your spot and someone else is there.
The reason
That's
why
not a
they're
wrong
emphasizing
tow.
on that is there's been times, for example, where we service communities and people don't like their next door neighbors, so they will call us and have their next door neighbor towed because they don't like them. Well, if you call us to request a vehicle to be towed, you have to sign a written authorization, you're sent a DocuSign, that you actually have to fill out with all of your information, and you are the one responsible for having that car towed. The next morning, when we find out that wasn't actually your spot that you had towed, there's two things. One, there's the criminal possibility of grand theft, and there's also the civil possibility of civil litigation.
So the last thing is, do we fill out our the vehicle part, just the vehicle part form? Tell us our tag, our thing, our permit number, now that, do we fill all that out, or wait on that too?
We need to.
You can if you want to or not. I've started entering them into my system and we'll double check
Okay,
contos.
but we don't do
before
the addendum because that's not correct.
You'll get new information and
Okay.
I'll resend that piece you're talking about.
We need to move on.
I just wanted to know that, that's it. All right, thank you.
Danny, you've been waiting a long time.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am, I
you
have.
for
It's
your
okay.
patience.
I'm happy with
Twice
it.
now.
If you need help with your engineering on that software, call me, because I'd love to see.
Background in Salesforce, by chance?
Yeah, I'm San Francisco, buddy.
Okay. I've
Okay.
got 2 full-time coders that are working like crazy, so, yeah.
I believe you. So the I haven't seen the software, I don't know the software. I'm Danny, Cluster 3. So, couple questions here. Number one, I have a spot in front of my house. I've been told recently that I pay taxes on that spot. It's my spot. It's got my number on it.
The covered spot?
Yep.
Yep.
So, it sounds like you have some sort of ability in your software to do a virtual restriction. I think that's the word you used. And the virtual restriction means that we can just you can restrict any towing of that spot.
It goes off license plates.
Fantastic. But you can restrict the spot itself or just the license?
Just the license plate for the car.
Well, I can help you fix that. But
I can't change that part yet.
Okay.
That part's not my system. I'm in the middle of building a whole new.
Okay.
Because I lost the customizability of the software that we're using. They sold to Beacon, and once they sold it off, I can't change anything in their system.
Okay, I understand. So I know that I can tow myself, right? I mean, I could call your company. I could legally say, okay, I'm going to take responsibility for this tow if it's not legal, which it wouldn't be because it's my spot.
Somebody else parked in your covered spot.
Then would I be able to just say, leave my spot alone, I'll call your company if there's somebody parked in my spot, don't check my spot?
It's my understanding it's a limited comment element. I don't know how that...
Because that would give me right to my spot. I have the ability, as you said, to take full responsibility for the tow. That means that I could call your company up and I could say, hey, I'm going to have my spot towed because I'm going to take personal liability, but my chances of being sued are very low because they're in my spot and they're not supposed to be in my spot. Then your company doesn't have access to my spot unless I call you, and therefore you guys just drive right on by, and that way I have access to my spot for an overnight guest. That would solve some serious problems here.
So I have two questions. One, how many stickers or how many vehicles do you have in your household?
I have one lease, one vehicle, 3 bedrooms. But I know we're not doing bedrooms.
Do you have 2 vehicles?
Nope, 1 vehicle.
Okay.
So that would open up a spot for you and my family. And because it's my spot, my vehicle, if he's not there, for first off, which sometimes he's not, then that would mean I have an additional spot that I could either call Michael or call CNS and have that spot filled.
But they're tracking plates, not addresses.
Okay, but my question is, let's just leave my spot alone. I have the ability to take liability, right?
I think, Danny, just off the top of my head, I think you're asking for an exception to the contract. And
I didn't see the contract, I didn't vote on the
understand
contract,
that,
right? So.
But I think you're asking for an exception, and my fear is this. You ask for an exception. Somebody in cluster 4 asks for one, someone in 1 asks for one. And all of a sudden, we've got 56 different exceptions that we need to manage, and I think that's not right.
Well, this is one exception that would be cluster.
But here's the problem with
But
that.
this is one,
If-
it opens the door for more.
If we give you that exception, but let's say your neighbor has 2 vehicles, right?
Yep.
Okay, and your neighbor wants to do the same thing.
Yep.
So, your neighbor has their covered space.
Yep.
And their second vehicle is parked in an open space.
Yep.
Now they wanna now they have 2 spaces.
Right.
But now they wanna take their covered space
Right.
parking, move it to another guest, or to another open space, and then exempt their
So now they
covered
have 3
space. Now they have
spots.
3 spaces.
Yep.
We don't have enough room for that.
Yeah.
If we make an exception for one, we gotta make an exception for all.
Well, I'm simply trying to understand the limitations of the software, so that I.
I don't,
No,
I don't think
It is
that's-
the- but it is
I don't
the
think
software.
that's, no, it's not the software.
No, it's the park, it's the spaces.
It's the space, it's,
You
I'm not
see
talking
the
software.
software.
Software is
Otherwise,
his
everybody's
business.
covered spot would then become their guest spot.
Right.
And then
And
that
then you
would
have
then take
2
away
vehicles from most houses parked in the open, and you don't have that kind of parking.
Okay, fair enough. I suppose that's my question for now, but I'll be back.
Okay, any additional questions? Are we finished?
I have a question for the board, I believe. When you engaged the towing company, was all the board involved in this transaction?
Yes.
What do you mean by engage the towing company?
Your meeting,
When-
was everybody there?